It's kind of fun to do the impossible. These are the words of one of my lifelong heroes. He was born on December 5th, 1901 in Chicago, Illinois, yet spent most of his childhood in Marceline, Missouri. He has always had an affinity for drawing and painting and sold some of his earliest creations to his friends and his neighbors. In the coming years, he would move back to Chicago to attend McKinley High School and begin to take classes at the Art Institute of Chicago. This was short-lived, as he dropped out of high school at the ripe age of 16 to join the war effort with the Red Cross. He moved to France to drive an ambulance and did so until 1919 when he moved back to the United States. After returning to the US, he finally decided to stand out from the crowd and to follow his dreams of becoming a cartoonist. Partnering with a fellow co-worker, Fred Harmon, he opened his own animation studio called Laugh-O-Grams, which produced short, animated fairy tales. This company was short-lived and closed its doors due to bankruptcy just a few years after opening. Not letting failure stop him, he opened a new animation studio just a few years later, which would create one of the world's most beloved cartoon characters. In 1928, Mickey Mouse was born. Throughout the next 20 years, Walt Disney Studios released many famous animated classics, such as Bambi, Cinderella, Dumbo, and my favorite, Peter Pan. In the 1950s, Disney decided to bring his animations to life with a project called Disneyland, a $17 million project at the time, $183 million in today's money. Disneyland was an immense project. Many investors told Walt it could not be done when they found out that from the time of public announcement to opening day would be only 1 year. To them, the risk was not worth the reward, and they chose not to stand with Walt Disney as he was following his passions, even though everyone told him that it couldn't be done. Walt Disney once said, "It's kind of fun to do the impossible," and that is exactly what he did. Exactly 1 year and 1 day after the public announcement of Disneyland, the park gates opened. This is not without major problems, as opening day was a bit of a catastrophe. Prior to park gates opening, helicopters were flying over the park consistently to help dry the still wet concrete. Guests had no access to water fountains, and the park was plagued with fake tickets, which led to an extra 13,000 guests over capacity. The park ran out of all food and all beverages, and many attractions were breaking down, leaving guests swimming to safety. In the midst of all of these problems, most people would have just given up. However, there is one thing that Walt Disney never let go of, and that is his passion. Passion is one of the strongest forces on this earth. With passion, you have the ability to do anything that you set your mind to. I know firsthand how difficult life can get. I've experienced loss, heartbreak, and many setbacks through my 19 years on this earth. There are times when we all feel broken down and we feel defeated, but we can't give up. We can choose to let our passions act as an internal fire, fueling us to push forward and to stand out from the crowd, or we can choose to let that fire burn out. It's up to you to learn your passions, harness them, and use them for the betterment of your FFA chapter, your community, and your world. At many points throughout his life, Walt Disney was facing some unfair odds, much like we are right now. This pandemic has rocked our world and changed the way that we go about daily life. In times like these, there's a lot we can learn from great leaders like Disney. He let his passion guide him as he stood out from the status quo and marched to the beat of his own drum. He did not let the doubts of others determine his success. His resistance to conformity and willingness to push forward laid the foundation for the world's most successful entertainment empire. Thanks to his passion and belief in himself, the Walt Disney Company has thrived and continues to deliver the famous Disney magic to over 100 million guests worldwide every single year. I challenge you to do the impossible and to fuel that internal fire, to make that choice to follow your passions and not be afraid to stand out from the crowd. Do not fall into the pessimism that runs abundant during these tough times. Be the one to stand up and be the one to stand out.